everybody. This is KCFY Unscripted. This is episode 2.
Wow.
Today, we're going to be talking about Have You Filled a Bucket Today? And I am here with my amazing co-host. I got Tracy here with the Glow Morning Show, Greg with the Midday Cafe.
Hey.
And again, this is Genesis at the Light at Night. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Tracy. She's going to talk about this amazing book that she got from one of her favorite,
One of our listeners.
One of our listeners.
I have to interrupt. I just, I'm looking at the cover of the book, and I'm like, is this the reading level that we're
Yeah,
at?
me? Yes. This is perfect for me.
Okay.
Perfect.
The word count is our word count.
I just
low.
wanted to preface that before we actually got started. People are like, oh, okay.
It's like, look
your
at that.
reading
It has a
level
beautiful
no,
message.
I'm teasing.
This is my reading level.
I mean, I love looking at the colors. I'm looking at the colors. I'm like, ooh, colorful. I like it.
All right.
It was gifted to me by one of our listeners, Alexis Liggett. First of all, I want to give her a shout out and a thank you.
Shout out to Alexis.
So she gave it to me, and she wrote a beautiful note inside saying pretty much this is what we do at KCFY. We fill people's buckets throughout our day.
Yes.
Whether we know it or not, that when our listeners tune in, they're getting their bucket filled. And so the whole story, the whole part of the book, I don't know, what's that? What's the big word?
Well, like the synopsis.
There you go.
Oh, that's
what it's all about.
What it's all about.
There you go.
Synopsis.
Yes.
The Spark Notes.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, that was last week.
That was last week.
The Cliff Note version of it is that basically we each have a bucket that we'd carry around with us every day. And we're pouring into others or, others are pouring into ours. And sometimes people knock other people's buckets over to make them feel better, thinking it's going to fill up their bucket, but it remains empty. And so they need other people to come and fill up their buckets and encourage them. And so I thought it was a cute way to kind of tie in what God has called us to do here at KCFY. And it was so encouraging to receive this. And so thank you so much to Alexis, because it was a beautiful story, one I look forward to sharing with my grandchildren. And so I thought, you know what, this is what we're called to do with media ministry, with what we do on air, is we are called to uplift, to encourage, and help people fix their eyes on Jesus every single day, filling up their buckets.
Yeah. That's good. I love the part that in the book, it talks about how there is such thing as people go ahead and they knock over other people's buckets. Yeah, we are called to fill other people's buckets, but there is those things or those days where we could either one, intentionally or unwillingly, or we intentionally do knock over people's buckets. That's why we have to be careful in the way how we act, the way how we present ourselves, the words that we use, and being wise enough and know that our words, like how it says in the Bible, it says in James talks about all about the power of the tongue. So you could either curse someone, you could bring down fire on someone just by simply something small, and that something small is your tongue.
Yep.
So you got to be careful with that.
It's a powerful weapon.
Yeah. Or you could bless someone or uplift somebody. And in this case here at KCFY, that's what we go for. We want to encourage people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's sad sometimes to really think about what we can do with the tongue. I mean we can lift people up, we can encourage, but man, we can cut people down and do some really devastating damage. And so it's a big responsibility, what we're going to say, what we're going to talk about, how we interact with people, what we say to them. Are we setting them up for success for that day, or are we tearing them down?
And if we look at the world is like, you focus in on me. Me.
It's all about
like,
me.
don't worry about anybody else. Go ahead and take from that bucket and make sure yours is full. Well, as believers in Jesus Christ, we're called to pour out into one another, encouraging one another, so that nobody is left with an empty bucket. And one of the things that I think we have a great responsibility is to remember that we're not called to be like this world. We live in this world, but we're not called to be part of this world. And so we're called to stand out for Jesus. And I'm not talking about stand out like, hey, look at me. I'm talking about we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to resemble more and more of Jesus Christ.
Set apart.
Yeah, set apart the good way. Yeah. So my thought is wherever our listener is going, whether they're going into their schools, their workplaces, whether they're going to the community, or even in their own homes, how are they being intentional with filling up the people around them's bucket? And how are they filling theirs? Because that's also important as well, is that we take time to make sure we're filling up our bucket by getting into the word of the Lord, by spending quality time in prayer, by listening to music that uplifts us and encourages us and helps us fix our eyes on Jesus.
Yeah, it's really hard to, pour into somebody's bucket when yours is empty.
Exactly.
Yep.
That puts it in perspective for me. I think to myself, all right, so if Jesus was walking around here in the flesh with us, and he had a bucket. That bucket, I know for a fact, it obviously would be filled, right, because of his spirit. But I know that bucket by the end of the day would be empty because he's giving it out, giving out what that bucket is to fill other people. So going back to what you said, this world is selfish, right? And it's all about, we want to fill our bucket. We want to fill our bucket. Oh, let me see what's in your bucket. Let me take that. Oh, what's in your bucket? Let me take that. But we're called to pour out our bucket so we can encourage other people and for them to do the same, because we live in a world where it's selfish and the Lord calls us to be selfless. If Jesus was walking around very selfless, very humble, very meek, that's what we're called to mimic, right? And encourage other people. So I know for a fact, if Jesus would have a bucket with him, that thing would be empty by the end of the day because he's too busy pouring out. It's less. And for us encouragers, we should be less of me, more of him. Right?
You know, and an interesting point too, and it's we see those side notes where Jesus would get away.
Oh, that's good.
Why did he do that? To fill that bucket back up, so that he could go back another day and continue to pour out and to give and to give. But so there's both involved. It's like there has to be time to fill in your bucket with prayer and the word, and then you're ready to go for the next day and pour out into other people's buckets.
That's really good. For example, so let's say that someone is having such a discouraging day, like to the point that they're not even motivated to fill up their buckets. They're not motivated to go and pray. They're not motivated to go and read because they're just going through something. And we all go through stuff. I mean, we're human, right? And because of that, that's why it's important for our fellow believers around us, as we are the bodies, to encourage other members of the body, right? And, you know, we gone through those things where we feel discouraged. We don't want to seek the Lord because we're like, God, we feel like you're not there, right? I feel like you're not there. I feel like I don't want to get in the word because I don't understand it right now, you know? So it's so important to encourage other people in the body, right? So if they can't do it, we could do it for them. And that would encourage them to do it for other people.
So I have a question for you guys. So we have a new believer who calls in, who says, I'm the only person in my household that goes to church that believes in Jesus Christ. My family is sarcastic. They do like one-ups and cut-downs. Like that's just something that we've grown up doing. But I feel like it's taking and it's robbing our family of the genuine joy that the Lord has for us and wants for us. What advice would you give to them to help them understand what they're called to do and how they can thrive in that environment, even though it's a little toxic?
Wow. Well, yeah. It's easy to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. But I think with any situation like that, every individual, it's their own responsibility to come to that knowledge of Christ. You can't make anybody do anything. And so living out as best you can God's principles, Christ's likeness in front of them is the best thing you could do. And pray for their salvation and for a change of attitude, and let the Holy Spirit do that. It's really tough if you try to make it all about what you're going to do or you're going to try to change them. I hate to say it, you're probably going to find yourself frustrated.
Yep. Yeah. Of course, we established this, get in the Word, right? Get into His presence. And a thing to keep in mind is that super important to do that because what your family's watching you. Your friends are watching you. You might be the only Bible that they're reading.
Yep.
So if you walk like Christ, talk like Christ, have that meekness, that gentleness, that love, all the fruits of the Spirit, right? That's going to speak volumes, and they're going to be, well, they're going to think, I would assume, the family or the friends be like, well, this person's going through all this, they're going through this person is hurting them in this way, everything is crumbling down, but why do they still have peace? Why do they still have patience?
Right.
Why do they still talk to me with love, even though I probably don't deserve it? Like, I hurt that person. That's going to speak volumes.
A whole lot more than you trying to force them to, come to your side. And so I think living it out, being the example.
Yes, love covers a multitude of sin. That's for sure.
And I think that not only in our family dynamic, but we can apply those same principles in our workplace. We can apply the same principles in our schools, in our community. Everything that you guys just covered, I think that's something we can apply. And so we challenge you to apply those principles and to be the salt and light of the earth. And we encourage you to fill your bucket up daily with Jesus and spending quality time with Him in His Word, in prayer and fasting if the Lord is calling you to fast.
Super important.
And definitely making sure you're being intentional with that intimate time with the Lord daily, and then filling your bucket up so that you can fill up others.
Yes. Fill your bucket up, guys. And remember, it's less of you, more of him in your life. And don't do it by your own strength. If it was by our own strength, we would be knocking everybody's buckets down because we're selfish. We are. But lean onto his own strength, and the Lord, because of his love for you, is going to teach you how to love others. And that's going to encourage you to fill other people's buckets.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for episode 2.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See ya.